listen to the rebel, 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 revolution. Floating in the sky, wondering why, shooting down electrical lightning. And up from above, with God's of love, telling me that life ain't beautiful. They're telling me, son, watch your run. You got a whole lot of loving going on.
Los Angeles, 1998. A time when the sun shined brighter. Blockbuster movies weren't comic book adaptations, and the Wachowski sisters were still the Wachowski brothers.
That's what we were thinking.
Lawrence and Andrew were working on their new film, The Matrix, but finding a suitable actor to play their main character was turning out to be quite a challenge. After a lengthy search, they finally settled on Nicolas Cage, but the actor dropped out of the project due to family issues. Will Smith nearly became their protagonist, but ultimately chose to star in the fantasy western Wild Wild West instead.
Oh, I'm glad we got that cleared up.
The actor later admitted that he didn't regret his choice, as he felt too inexperienced for such a role. And so, after passing through many hands, the script finally fell into the hands of Keanu Reeves. Although that's not quite true. Before entrusting the future cast and crew with the script, the Wachowskis required that they each read Jean Baudrillard's book, Simulacra and Simulation, and then explained its meaning to them. Keanu was given a separate list of literature. In addition to Baudrillard's book, he was assigned Out of Control by Kevin Kelly and Introducing Evolutionary Psychology by Dylan Evans.
Holy shit. Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. How about some more? Hell yes.
Once he completed the homework, the actor was easily able to understand all the references that the brothers had stuffed into their work.
He does one chapter, I believe, on like religious icons, where the icon starts to represent God and it loses its power of a true connection to God, because then you're with the icon and then you have a simulation of an icon until it becomes on the dashboard of your car. You know, a decay of meaning.
Reeves was approved for the leading role and was preparing to start a 4-month training course under the tutelage of legendary martial arts director Yun Wu-Ping. But his health interfered. His rapid recovery from the back injury that we mentioned in part 1
My legs were I was getting paralyzed. So I had the surgery done.
meant that Keanu was only a couple of weeks behind schedule. Despite doctor's orders, he began training with no exceptions or breaks on the weekend. However, this injury prevented him from practicing his kicks for the first 2 months, which is why he practically doesn't do any in the film. By the way, the actors had only planned for a couple of weeks of training, but a full-fledged course was a requirement for Yun Wu-Ping's participation in the project. He created a customized program for each actor that hid their weaknesses and improved their strengths.
I know Kung Fu.
In March of 1998, Keanu moved to Australia, where he spent the next 6 months on the set of The Matrix.
I felt like there was a really great excitement about it. I remember when we showed up, meeting the people who were building the sets. It was in a new studio. You know, costumes were being built. We were getting ready to go, and it seemed like everybody who was working on the picture had a genuine enthusiasm and excitement about what they were working on.
We could spend hours talking about the creative process that went into this film. Innovative technologies, tons of crazy stunts, and elaborate scenery. It was a challenge for both the actors and the film crew. After his work in Speed, Keanu aspired to do all of his own stunts. So in this scene, without using any safety harness, he actually climbs out of the window of the 34th floor. And given the luck that stuntmen have, it was for the best.
3, 2, 1, fight!
In the fight sequence with Agent Smith, 2 of Reeves' 3 doubles received broken knees and ribs. Of course, let us not forget this fleeting nod to Bruce Lee. It was immediately decided to keep this improvisation by Keanu in the final cut of the film. This role, containing so many references to religion, history, and philosophy, also had one haunting metaphor. In the Wachowski brothers' script, Mr. Anderson woke up 7 times. That is, Neo woke up. Right. It's not hard to notice that before the final monologue, Neo says no more than 5 sentences in a row. This technique makes us doubt the hero's exceptionalism almost until the end of the film.
I'm not the one.
Sorry, kid.
Keanu's final test was shooting this scene. He lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks and shaved his entire body, including his eyebrows.
And action.
Light.
It was this very moment that marked the end of the filming process.
Thanks, folks. That completes principal photography on the Matrix.
2 days later, the actor returned to Los Angeles, where the paparazzi who saw him immediately began spreading rumors that Reeves had either gotten hooked on drugs or been stricken with some horrible disease. The actor's mysterious life has been a favorite topic of the tabloids for a long time. Keanu didn't own his own home, and throughout his 13 years in Los Angeles, he either lived with friends or out of hotels. Basically, his behavior was very secretive. Of course, after the film's release on the big screen, everything fell into place and the questions stopped. Then it was revealed where the actor had disappeared after returning to the city. He admitted in an interview that he had left for Tahiti to spend some time with his sister. 30-year-old Kim had been diagnosed with lymphoma, which she had been battling for more than a decade. Today, Kim is healthy, and the Reeves have overcome this disease. All these years, Keanu has spared no effort nor expense not only in the fight against his sister's disease, but also in the struggles of thousands of people around the world. Reeves is an activist for the Stand Up to Cancer and Sick Kids Foundation organizations, having donated tens of millions of dollars to their causes. The actor also owns a private charitable company that finances the treatment of childhood cancers. The Matrix premiered on March 31st, 1999. Over the following months, it would become a commercial success, as well as a favorite of critics.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And for Keanu, the film's success also meant financial gain for him. In addition to the $10 million actor's fee he received before filming even began, thanks to a percentage clause in his contract, he earned about $25 million more. It's also worth noting the incredible coincidence that awaited The Matrix at several film festivals and award ceremonies. We are of course referring to the film The 13th Floor, which was released that same year.
Electronic simulated characters. They populate the system. They think, they work, they eat.
The ideas depicted in each of these films are so similar that it seems that such a coincidence could only happen in a simulation.
Right now we have a working prototype, Los Angeles circa 1937.
It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
Although if we're talking about coincidences, then we have to mention Dark City.
There are people coming for you, even as we speak.
Who's coming for me?
Your entire history is an illusion, a fabrication, as it is with all of us.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today.
But it was the Wachowskis' picture that remained in the hearts of viewers around the world. It was so successful in the early weeks after its release that Warner Brothers began working on sequels. As for Keanu Reeves, he had just found himself a new project, the sports drama, The Replacements.
Danny Bateman. Shane. Falco.
Aside from receiving a salary of over $10 million for the second time in his career, for Keanu, this film was also memorable for the opportunity to work with Gene Hackman.
You look like a swordfish I caught once. Yeah, he hit the deck just like that. You know who I am?
A mutually enjoyable experience for both actors. This was in stark contrast to the way Keanu was treated by another Hollywood old-timer, Al Pacino. Reeves completely surprised everyone involved in the project with his incredible ability to train. When he first hit the football field, he couldn't throw the ball further than 15 yards. But by the middle of filming, he could launch it more than 50. Add to that 20 pounds of muscle and daily workouts with a professional football team, and we get a sense of the actor's typical dedication to his roles.
Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Hey, do you like our work? Let us know with your like and comment. Push that subscribe button and share with your friends. If you want to support the project financially, become our sponsor on Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. Thank you. Let's move on. Between filming in Maryland, Keanu would often return to LA, where he was spotted in the company of a mysterious stranger. This was Keanu's first relationship to hit the spotlight, which meant her name wouldn't remain a secret for long. The actor's special someone turned out to be director David Lynch's personal assistant, Jennifer Syme. Usually not one to go into details about his personal life, a few months later, Keanu made a statement that he and Jennifer were expecting a child. He also spoke a little bit about their relationship, highlighting their shared passion for motorcycles. Although the couple lived separately, journalists had evidence that Keanu, after 13 years of living in LA, was finally purchasing real estate in California. Meanwhile, The Replacements was now in post-production, and so he began working on a new project, the crime thriller, The Watcher.
This'll be fun.
The Watcher was the directorial debut of Reeves' old friend, Joe Charbanek, who had documented the tours of Keanu's band, Dogstar. The actor thought it would just be a cameo that would take 2 to 3 days to shoot, and so he agreed to the minimum rate set by the Actors Guild.
I know your job is hard, Joe. So I'm willing to take steps to try and make things work between us.
But when he received the script, he realized that he had been cheated. His role had been expanded, almost to the point of being the main character. He later found out that his co-stars, Marissa Tomei and James Spader, were being paid their normal rates.
What the What is that?
I never found the script interesting, but a friend of mine forged my signature on the agreement. I couldn't prove he did, and I didn't want to get sued. So I had no other choice but to do the film. The Watcher and The Replacements were released simultaneously at the box office. Both films saw lackluster results and were crushed by critics. Articles about the films were full of statements like, "After playing Neo, we thought Keanu had reached a whole new level, but unfortunately, it was just wishful thinking." To make matters worse, Reeves received his 5th Golden Raspberry nomination for the role of Griffin. But to be honest, he didn't care about what the media were saying, because tragedy had struck his personal life. In December of 1999, Keanu and Jennifer were preparing for the birth of their daughter. They attended prenatal classes and visited baby stores. But on Christmas Eve, Jennifer's health rapidly began to deteriorate. The couple went in for an ultrasound where their worst fears were confirmed. Due to a blood clot in the umbilical cord, their baby had died. A photo of Jennifer and Keanu at the grave of Ava Archer Syme Reeves made headlines around the world. But Keanu didn't have time to grieve, because shortly after the funeral, Kim was once again diagnosed with cancer. He moved in with her and supported her throughout her chemotherapy. After 6 months, it became clear that Jennifer and Keanu had broken up. In an attempt to cope with loss, Keanu threw himself into his work. He began by signing a contract to star in the 2nd and 3rd installments of The Matrix. Reeves was given the best offer of his career, $30 million, or 15% of the proceeds, whichever was higher, in exchange for 250 days of filming. In addition, his group Dogstar would feature in the soundtrack. Filming was scheduled to begin in the middle of 2001, but Keanu couldn't allow himself to rest. To escape his personal problems, he got involved in a new project by Evil Dead director Sam Raimi. Keanu's first appearance on set wowed his co-star Giovanni Ribisi. He looked scary and menacing, with that long hair and beard and eyes that cut to the bone. Keanu was going to surprise a lot of viewers. He plays a very convincing lowlife.
I'll handle you later on, you goddamn bitch. Get you with passing.
In order to transform into Donnie Barksdale, the actor moved to Georgia 3 weeks before the filming began and dressed in his character's clothes every day. He would even drive his pickup truck around town, often scaring the locals.
You know what this is? It's a voodoo doll.
The Gift was released in the middle of 2001, but despite excellent reviews from critics, it failed at the box office.
Motherfucker!
motherfucker! Shoot me!
Well, Keanu continued his marathon by signing up for roles in 2 more films. Romantic drama, Sweet November, in which he reunited with Charlize Theron.
Hi, would you like to get naked with us? We live here. We have a tub full of fudge and vodka. Come on, it's gonna be fun.
Ignore her.
Come
Ignore
on,
her.
he's really
Hey,
cute.
what are you doing?
And the sports drama, Hardball.
New rule! No one can say anything bad to anyone else on the field.
But his workaholism didn't end there. Before filming, he recorded a new album with Dogstar and went on a small tour with his band. Apparently, only a tight schedule could help the actor drown out the pain of loss. The filming of Sweet November in the spring of 2000 is remembered as being one of the biggest wastes in Warner Brothers history. The studio paid Keanu about $10 million to star in an impressive number of nude scenes. But during editing, they decided they didn't want to get an R rating and cut out almost all of the juicy material between Charlize and Keanu.
Wait. What are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
Hey.
The actor openly stated that by cutting out all of the most human and sensual scenes, the studio had signed the film's death warrant.
Excuse me, I think you're making a mistake.
Nelson.
I've seen your sales. I mean, you're in big trouble.
And he turned out to be right. The box office flop came with devastating reviews, in which critics scolded the actor for playing another flat, expressionless character in an unnecessary remake of a good film.
1,000 Novembers, Sarah, for as long as they last.
But a worse fate awaited Keanu while working on his next project.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, Tiki.
Come on, hey.
Keanu received another helping of criticism and won the Golden Raspberry Award for both Sweet November and Hardball.
Ha! 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 I'm not listening to any of you. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you or any of you.
It is unclear what came over the award's creators when they poured salt on the wound during such a difficult time in the actor's life. The only good news is that these were his last nominations.
How do you know that?
Keanu spent the rest of 2000 and the beginning of 2001 with the cast of The Matrix and Yuen Woo-ping as he prepared for the filming of the sequels. Unfortunately, Keanu didn't get the chance to take a break from personal tragedy. In late March 2001, Keanu moved to San Francisco to begin filming the sequel to The Matrix. On the 1st of April, not far from the studio, he had breakfast with Jennifer Syme, where they had a nice chat and parted ways. The next day, he found out that Jennifer had died after crashing her SUV into parked vehicles. The autopsy revealed that she had been intoxicated. Keanu refused to discuss what had happened, fell into a depression, and missed several days of filming. He soon left his band Dogstar and featured in a public service announcement about the benefits of seatbelts. But the Matrix project, which cost over $300 million, couldn't be delayed. And so, Keanu dove back into his work, the only thing that helped him cope with his experiences over the previous year and a half. Speaking of the scope of the Matrix sequels, it's worth mentioning the specially built freeway, the $100 million special effects, and the 27 days spent filming this sequence. An attentive viewer may be able to hear the sounds of dominoes added to the punches and a bowling ball crashing into pins. Speaking of a lengthy filming process, we have to mention this scene.
There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 ones before me. Either no one told me.
Keanu shot hundreds of variations that are broadcast on the screens of The Architect.
Dead! I'm gonna fucking kill you! Fucking kill you! Fucking dead! Fuck you! And
Choice.
After 11 years, Monica Bellucci once again seduced Keanu on screen.
All right.
And since the actor wasn't recovering from an operation this time, he was able to perform almost all of his own stunts. During the filming of the movie, the actor also voiced Neo in the video game Enter the Matrix and the Animatrix animated films.
I didn't save you, kid. You saved yourself.
The release of a video game, animated films, and 2 parts of The Matrix was a real event. The Matrix Reloaded broke box office records for R-rated films, earning $742 million in ticket sales and becoming the highest-grossing film in the series. Part 3 brought in $472 million, while the video game earned $120 million. Reeves personally earned $206 million. Once the checks started rolling in, he quickly figured out what to do with the money. He gave more than $80 million to everyone who had worked on the film, and while that is certainly a staggering amount, keep in mind that the end credits include about 2,000 names. Reeves also gifted a Harley-Davidson to each stuntman. And finally, he took care of himself. After 17 years of living in rented houses and hotels, Keanu bought a home in Los Angeles. With the completion of The Matrix, Keanu found himself at an amazing time in his career. After 18 years of constant filming, he finally slowed down.
It's impossible.
Together with Robert Mailhouse, the actor started a new band called Becky. In 2003, he played a supporting role in the romantic comedy Something's Gotta Give.
Great to meet you, Erica. Ladies.
Keanu's involvement in the project was motivated by a desire to work with such an incredible cast: Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton, and Frances McDormand.
When something happens to you that's never happened to you before, don't you have to at least find out what it is?
2 films were released the following year in which Keanu featured in minor roles: Thumbsucker and Ellie Parker. Although he only acted in Thumbsucker,
Aren't you just my orthodontist?
I like to think of myself as more than that.
Ellie Parker is an original work by Scott Kofi and Naomi Watts, partly based on the actress's real life. The feature film is a revised version of the 2001 short film, where Keanu made a cameo as a member of Dogstar.
It's really cool. Good to see you, man. How you doing? Hey, this is my friend Ellie.
Hi.
And this is Sam. You guys are so great.
Good.
One of the roles in it was played by Jennifer Syme, who Naomi had befriended on the set of David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. Her scenes made it to the full-length film. By the way, Lynch dedicated Mulholland Drive in memory of Jennifer. Then came the superhero film Constantine.
This is Constantine. John Constantine. Asshole.
This was another long-term project in which Keanu came in at the final stage of preparation. Before him, the author of the original comic book, Alan Moore, was interested in having Nicolas Cage play the role of John Constantine. Moore had been disappointed with the film adaptation of his previous works, namely The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell, and hoped that this project would be a success. But the original story was not in demand among the studios. So the writers rewrote the plot and changed the setting to Los Angeles. Warner Brothers immediately became interested in the project, and Alan Moore once again lost hope for a canonical film adaptation.
Let's be sure.
When the leading role was offered to Keanu, who looked completely different from the character of Constantine, whom Moore had based on the singer Sting, the author withdrew from the project.
Don't worry. Happens to everyone the first time.
The title Constantine was a necessary measure. The comic was called Hellblazer, but the name was changed to avoid similarities with Hellboy, which had come out 3 months earlier.
You're Hellboy.
I'm on a mission.
Another detail that these films had in common was the use of the exact same replica of the Spear of Destiny.
In 1938, he acquired the Spear of Longinus to pierce the side of Christ. He who holds it becomes invincible.
As expected, fans of the comic did not appreciate the film adaptation. Nevertheless, the cast, which included Reeves, Rachel Weisz,
So you're rude no matter where you are.
Tilda Swinton,
And you're going to go to hell because of the life you took.
and a young Shia LaBeouf
John. I love our little talk, John.
put on an impressive performance. Moreover, the film's noir atmosphere and black humor gave it a little boost.
Isabel wouldn't have taken her own life.
Yeah, what kind of mental patient kills herself? That's just crazy.
The $100 million project paid off at the box office and received accolades from all the critics who hadn't read the original.
Coffin nail.
Very fitting, John.
In 2004, Keanu took part in the most unusual project of his career, the psychological science fiction film by Richard Linklater, A Scanner Darkly.
What happened? How'd I get here?
This movie was animated through a process known as rotoscoping, a technique in which animators trace over the original footage frame by frame. It's a complex process, a fact which the director has mentioned many times. Filming was completed in 23 days. The animation took 18 months. A Scanner Darkly reunited Keanu and Winona Ryder for the first time in 14 years.
Or is that, me dreaming?
As well as allowed him to work with Robert Downey Jr. and Woody Harrelson for the first time.
Oh, this should be extremely informational at this point. I believe this will tell us a great deal.
The picture became the most profitable rotoscoped animation film in history, bringing in $7.6 million at the box office. However, it was also the most expensive of its kind, with a budget of more than $8 million.
Fuck it.
To define the success of these types of projects by their ticket sales would be foolish. This was a creative experiment by a director who has dedicated his career to making unique cinema. Plus, this was a valuable experience for Keanu, who, according to the usually hostile critics, had perhaps the best performance of his career.
What does a scanner see? Into the head? Down into the heart?
Financial success certainly awaited his next project, the romance drama, The Lake House. This remake of South Korean blockbuster El Mare brought Reeves together with another colleague from his younger days, Sandra Bullock.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Speaking of the lake house, let's take a moment to acknowledge the actual house by the lake. This extravagant architectural masterpiece was built specifically for the film. The building was practically fully functional, with the exception of having no bathrooms. Unfortunately, one of the conditions set by Illinois state authorities, who allowed the land near Maple Lake to be used free of charge, was that once filming had wrapped, the shoreline had to be returned to its original condition, so the house was demolished as quickly as it was built.
And I let myself get lost. Lost in this beautiful fantasy where time stood still.
Once again, the leading actors were a winning combination, especially since Reeves and Bullock could now fill theater seats just by having their names on the poster. By the way, Keanu's name found itself on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in January 2005.
It was great to be able to be having this moment and sharing it with my friends and family and the people I've worked with. It's just, it's lovely.
The crime thriller, Street Kings, was a return to his roots. In fact, Reeves hadn't starred in a typical action film since the release of Speed.
No, I'm gonna ask him some questions. Then we're gonna kill him.
Although, Street Kings is no ordinary movie, primarily because of its cast, which included Forrest Whitaker, Chris Evans, Hugh Laurie, and Terry Crews.
What happened, Terrence? We used to be brothers.
But also because of its darker plot. This is thanks to David Ayer, who became famous as the screenwriter for Training Day and the director of Harsh Times. It is worth mentioning a few homages to some of Keanu's previous roles.
Harry, I thought you were dead.
This line is a direct reference to the partner of Reeves' character in Speed.
Harry, come on, man.
The sound of the alarm clock is also taken straight from the opening scene of The Matrix. The film's negative critical reception had no effect on its box office performance, which was profitable. The same can be said about Keanu's next film, sci-fi drama, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
This is our planet.
No, it is not.
This picture is a remake of a 1951 film of the same name. The story about an alien who gives the inhabitants of Earth an ultimatum had Keanu's attention immediately. Given that the film's producer, Erwin Stoff, specifically had him in mind for the lead role, the actor was quickly added to the cast. Among his co-stars were Jennifer Connelly, Kathy Bates, John Hamm, and a young Jaden Smith.
Hello.
Hi.
Shooting became an excellent testing ground for Keanu's improvisation. It was his idea to include the phrase Klaatu Barada Nikto from the original film.
Klaatu Barada Nikto.
A line which was also used in Evil Dead 2.
Klaatu Barada.
He also personally came up with and staged the scenes with the lie detector. And in the scene where the heroes meet John Cleese's character, Keanu finished the equation with his right hand, even though he is left-handed in real life. This is also a reference to the original film.
We've waited and hoped that you would change.
Please.
It's reached the tipping point. We have to act.
Please.
We'll undo the damage you've done and give the Earth a chance to begin again.
Cloud 2's declaration here is even more chilling today. Scientists are increasingly declaring that the Earth has already passed this tipping point, making the production team's decision to film sustainably all the more significant. The scenery and special effects were created in such a way that they could be recycled later or were at least minimally harmful to the environment.
The long-term question is, what's the ultimate cost of not doing this?
The following year saw the release of the romantic comedy drama The Private Lives of Pippa Lee, which was filmed in 2007.
It's a beautiful day.
Try not to notice.
For the third time in his career, Keanu was reunited with Winona Ryder and Monica Bellucci, who each played supporting roles.
Which brings us more or less up to date, give or take a decade.
From 2008 to 2010, Reeves didn't appear in any movies, but he did start a joint business venture with designer Gard Hollinger. It all started when the actor asked him to create a custom motorcycle.
This is a big twin, it's a 124, 2-liter S&S monster.
Keanu was so impressed with the result that they decided to join forces and founded the Arch Motorcycle Company, which develops high-end custom bikes.
It's such an amazing motorcycle to ride. There's nothing like it.
With another friend, Stephen Hamill, he founded his own production company, which to this day is involved in many projects that feature Keanu. In 2010, Reeves went down in internet history forever as the saddest actor on the planet, after celebrating his 46th birthday on a bench in New York City with a small cake. After the event went viral as an internet meme, an online group was created, dedicated to cheering up Keanu. There is now a whole community who wishes him a happy birthday every year. One of the most popular gifts is a donation to a specifically created cancer charity called Cheer Up Keanu Day. Reeves got back to work with a role in the comedy Henry's Crime.
What are you in for?
Bank robbery.
Nice, clean, simple. I like it.
I didn't do it.
No.
Unfortunately, there is nothing nice to say about the movie. Awful reviews and a poor showing at the box office are not a death sentence in and of themselves, but in this film's case, they were an accurate reflection of reality.
I just wanted to say thank you, you know.
For what?
For not giving up my name.
I don't know your name.
The only memorable moment happened while shooting in the city of Tarrytown. After seeing posters on the wall of the theater promoting a fictional performance by Keanu and Vera Farmiga, local residents tried in vain for weeks to get tickets.
You're not be able to say Andreyevich. Say it.
Andreyevich.
Good. Got the name right. Continue.
Reeves went quiet again after that. Some suspected a prolonged bout of depression, during which he wouldn't leave his apartment or hotel room for months at a time. The 2012 release of Generation didn't help to dispel the rumors.
You just get to a point where your disappointment in yourself becomes so much bigger than your parents' disappointment.
The essence of the actor's sadness was captured in an illustrated book entitled Ode to Happiness, for which he wrote the text and his friend Alexandra Grant did the drawings. They later created another work together called Shadows.
My shadow is innocent. I am guilty.
We are flesh and blood.
Till death do us part.
After spending another year away from the cameras in Hollywood, Keanu was itching for a new experience. After reading aspiring screenwriter Michael G. Cooney's script for Man of Tai Chi, the actor decided not only to play a role in it, but also try his hand at directing.
For me, it became just like I'm looking for a story to tell. I would love to direct, but I needed a story to tell, and Man of Tai Chi became that story.
While his production company took over the rest, Keanu left for China, where he would spend the next 5 months. The film's leading role was played by Reeves' old friend Tiger Chen.
Innocent.
Whom he had gotten to know on the set of The Matrix.
This part is more traditional Chinese style.
Tiger was one of Yuen Woo-ping's assistants and had staged the action scenes in dozens of films. He also had a small role in The Matrix Reloaded. Another noteworthy addition to the production was martial artist Iko Uwais, who had risen to fame with his raid trilogy. Keanu personally insisted that Iko play a cameo role.
Kill him.
The film was first shown at the Beijing Film Festival and received many accolades. Perhaps the greatest of which was a personal compliment from the legendary John Woo. Although the film wasn't considered innovative, Man of Tai Chi was a solid directorial debut for Reeves. It's a good old-fashioned action movie that appeals to all martial arts fans. 2013 can be called the year of Asian cinema in Keanu's filmography. Following The Man of Tai Chi came the fantasy action film 47 Ronin. This was the 7th adaptation of this Japanese picture, and the first to be done in Hollywood.
You are not a samurai.
Work on the film lasted over 4 years. A huge number of reshoots, years of post-production, and a scandal involving director Carl Rinch, who was stripped of his right to Final Cut, ultimately overshadowing the film itself.
I have come for your help.
Also, Keanu had to act in it twice. After seeing the first draft of the film, studio executives were disappointed that the actor's presence was only a minor part of the story. So they waited for him to finish his directorial project and paid him for an additional 2 weeks of filming. Because of these and other derailings, the budget of 47 Ronin ballooned to $175 million. It fell short by $30 million at the box office, and although subsequent DVD and Blu-ray sales helped to offset the loss, Carl Rinch's directorial debut also marked the end of his career.
Then even if we'd failed, it would have been with honor.
Keanu went on once again to win the hearts of millions of fans by starring in one of the best action films of the last decade. John Wick is an action movie based on a true story from the life of Marcus Luttrell, author of the book Lone Survivor. Marcus is a Marine who served in the war in Afghanistan, and if you've seen the movie adaptation of his book, then you know what he's been through. Luttrell was given a Labrador puppy to be a service animal as part of his therapy. On April 1st, 2009, he was awakened by gunshots. When Luttrell looked outside, he saw a dead dog in the backyard and a pickup truck driving away. He armed himself with a 9mm Beretta and set off in pursuit. A few hours later, the police arrested the killers. The veteran later stated that the only reason they were still alive was because he had already killed too many people. The film's creators were stuntman David Leitch and Chad Stahelski, who had previously worked as Keanu's double in The Matrix.
First and foremost, I'm Keanu Reeves' stunt double. Also in charge of the training facility to make sure the Hong Kong guys get what they need, kind of liaison between them and the stunt department. Also kind of in charge of the martial arts stunt work, like setting up our rigging, making sure that the stunt aspect of the fight scenes go well.
Somewhere along the way we started a stunt team, then we started a stunt company. Our company is 8711.
8711 is the foremost company in the world for stunt fighting for films.
Emulating the intense prep work of The Matrix, the actor trained 8 hours a day for 4 months straight. This discipline entitled the actor to personally perform 95% of his own stunts. The greatest example of this can be found in the nightclub scene, the movements of which Reeves learned in one day. The directors claimed that the actor had come down with a cold and shot this scene with a 104-degree temperature. Luckily, he was fine, and the result was clearly worth the effort. John Wick and The Matrix had more in common than just Keanu and Chad Stahelski's involvement. A small reference can be seen in the gamer tag in this scene. Also, actor Daniel Bernhardt, who played Cyril, fought Morpheus on a truck 11 years earlier. The film's original running time was 50 minutes longer than the final version. The directors cut out more than half of the final fight scene when they realized that the villain was simply no match for John Wick. There's a ton of great shots on the cutting room floor that's just Keanu walking in cool environments. This line
69
is another interesting hidden detail of the film, as Yosef ended up becoming John Wick's 69th victim. Despite critical acclaim from both reviewers and audiences, the film wasn't what you call a commercial slam dunk. Sure, it earned $80 million against a budget of $20 million, but it deserved so much more. By the way, one of the few nominations this film received served as a reminder of Keanu's failures. That's right, we're talking about the Golden Raspberry again. But don't worry, for his role in John Wick, Keanu was nominated for the Razzie Redeemer Award.
Of course. But it won't matter.
Unfortunately, as soon as Reeves began acting more frequently again, he ended up in a couple of mediocre projects. The first of these was psychological thriller Knock Knock.
We give the audience what they want. The chance to punish a pedophile.
And even though Eli Roth's picture failed in every way, Keanu's acting and style were nevertheless top-notch.
You lied to me! I tried to help you! I let you in! I was a good guy! I'm a good father!
By the way, this is one of the few American films to have earned dozens of times more money in the former Soviet bloc than in the United States. But even that fact wasn't enough to help the $2.5 million project to break even at the box office.
Shit.
If Knock Knock doesn't exactly inspire fear in the experienced viewer, what happened in Keanu's real life certainly should. On the night of September 12th, 2014, Keanu was sleeping peacefully at his home in the Hollywood Hills. The actor woke up when he heard some sounds coming from the first floor. He walked through all the rooms before going into the library, where he found a strange woman. She said she'd come to meet him. Keanu talked to her for about 20 minutes while he discreetly called the police. When they arrived, the woman was arrested and sent to a mental hospital. However, 3 days later, it happened again. Keanu wasn't home this time, but suspecting something was wrong, his gardener called him. Shortly thereafter, this intruder was also taken away by the police. Although the actor was shocked by the same incident happening in such a short time, especially after having just filmed Knock Knock, he didn't press charges and looked back on what happened with understanding and a sense of humor. The same approach should be taken when considering the detective thriller Exposed.
Yeah, of course. What about it?
Which continued Keanu's streak of bad movies. The film's main problem was the studio, Lionsgate. After failing to find distributors, the producer sold the film's right to Lionsgate Premiere. The executives there didn't like it and decided to completely re-edit it, turning one of the supporting characters into the main character. It's not hard to guess who, given that the film was later advertised as a cop thriller starring Keanu Reeves. The final cut horrified director and screenwriter G. Malik Linton, who persuaded the Directors Guild of America to remove his name from the credits. Keanu wasn't given the opportunity to do the same. The fact that this movie completely bombed can be considered a happy ending, one for which the greedy Lionsgate bigwigs were punished.
That's it.
In the same year of 2015, Keanu managed to narrate 2 films. One was Deep Web, a documentary about the dark side of the internet, created by Reeves' old friend Alex Winter.
It simply accounts for all of the unindexed content online. Banking data, administrative code for governments, corporations, and universities.
The second was the comedy Keanu, from one of the most famous comedy duos in the United States, Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key.
Hello, I'm sorry, Keanu?
Yeah. Okay. I think it means cool breeze in Hawaiian.
Key and Peele had offered Reeves a role in the film several times, but he turned it down. However, after seeing the first trailer, he became interested and reached out himself. By that time, the movie had already been shot, so Keanu was invited to voice Keanu.
It's me, Keanu.
Meow. Wait. Are you Keanu Reeves?
Next came the thriller, The Whole Truth.
Most people skim morality. We all want to be good little girls and boys.
Keanu joined the cast 4 days before filming began, replacing Daniel Craig, who had dropped out of the project. Unfortunately, Keanu's return to the courtroom drew hundreds of comparisons to The Devil's Advocate, and no, it didn't even come close to being as good.
Wasn't so bad. No, it was not.
The post-apocalyptic horror film, The Bad Batch, was one of the most daring experiments of the actor's career. It wasn't so much that he had some extravagant role, although it was certainly unusual for him.
Life is the dream. The only dream.
But it was more about the film itself. It's difficult to put into words, but one review's title puts it rather well. A movie that will definitely be appreciated someday, but not today. For the first 19 minutes of the film, there's no dialogue whatsoever. A silence which is not compensated for later on. The technique works for the sake of the film's concept, but for the audience it's like an endurance test that not many pass. And while Keanu and Jim Carrey are worth the wait, as are Suki Waterhouse and Jason Momoa, it's an art house film that will only appeal to an overwhelming minority of audiences.
Now there's only one rule here, and it's this. It's time to wake up.
Another controversial project from a much more eminent director is Nicholas Winding Refn's The Neon Demon. Keanu's minor supporting role in this picture is quite memorable for his fans.
Feel the leadership. Room 214. Gotta be seen.
As for the film itself, it is worthy of its own separate analysis. Its allusions to the works of Stanley Kubrick, along with plenty of metaphors and hidden meanings, were a tasty morsel for festival goers, but like the previous film, didn't win over the majority of viewers.
Relax, okay?
Taking on a workload reminiscent of his youth, in 2016, Keanu brought his total number of projects for that year to 6. The last on this list was the detective comedy series Swedish Dicks.
You're a hitman. We all have to find our place in the universe.
From the mind of Peter Stormare, this crime show featured Keanu in a supporting role.
And I'm gonna kill you right after I kill your daughter. Great to see you.
It was his friendship with Peter that brought him to the project, becoming their third collaboration after Constantine and Henry's Crime. Their fourth would be the next installment of John Wick.
Mir. Такой фраер хочет бить, нет.
During the previous 2 years, Keanu had traveled around Italy as an invincible hitman, visiting a filming location from Spider-Man.
What are you doing, Jonathan?
And also worked with Lawrence Fishburne again.
Because I'm the only one that can help you.
He is the one.
Per tradition, he performed nearly all of his own stunts. A double only stepped in for him in these scenes. Learning to wield dual pistols was also an interesting task, for which the actor studied with famous instructor Taran Butler. Taran had taught special forces and intelligence agencies around the world, as well as many athletes and actors.
Remember, body, weapon first. First body, then weapon. Ready? Up!
The John Wick Chapter 2 is nothing but a testosterone-fueled action ride. Of course, the film found its audience and performed even better at the box office than its predecessor. In addition to a rather successful John Wick sequel, Keanu was of course invited in several other failed films in 2017. Among them were supporting roles in the drama To the Bone.
I hear you. Just keep it for yourself. For now. Okay?
And the comedy A Happening of a Monumental Proportions.
What is that, an Indian bird?
Apache style!
Reeves' combined screen time between these two films doesn't even total 10 minutes, so we won't be spending any time discussing these rather mediocre productions. However, not even Neo could have dodged the blows that the actor's reputation took in 2018. It all started with the crime thriller Siberia. It's really hard to talk about this movie, hovering at a rate of around 4 stars out of 10 on IMDb. Many people have been spared from viewing this picture. Keanu's second film in 2018 was the comedy Destination Wedding, in which he and his wife, that is Winona Ryder, teamed up for the fourth time.
You know who I feel sorry for?
Yourself?
Anne's father.
Why? He's the only one here who wasn't married to my mother.
This strange film, in which all of the lines went to the two main characters, was shot in just 10 days. Director Victor Levin gave the actors complete freedom and an hour and a half of screen time.
You're assuming that you're normal, which is hilarious.
Incredibly cruel.
Resulting in a humorous butting of heads with some serious truths hidden behind the jokes.
Don't you believe there's someone for everyone?
Close. I believe that there's nobody for anyone.
It's no secret that the film performed disastrously at the box office and received a lot of negative criticism. Nevertheless, Keanu and Winona's on-screen chemistry is hard to resist. Perhaps the film could have had a better director. Give this material to Woody Allen or Sofia Coppola, and we would have a masterpiece for the ages on our hands. But unfortunately, that's never going to happen.
We tried, okay? We did. But at some point, there's just not enough optimism left inside a person to sustain something like this, you know?
The last film of 2018 involving Keanu was the science fiction thriller Replicas. And yes, it too was a failure. Obviously, 2018 was not Keanu's year. And honestly, I have no desire to focus on the man's misfortunes, especially considering that the next few years of his life deserve their own chapter in this story.
Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Excellent!